Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I want to know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about, let's talk about, yeah. Let's talk about Conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host. And Conversations with Nicole is a talk show based in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And today is what I call Wellness Wednesday. Wellness Wednesday is an opportunity for you, me, and my guests to talk about whatever it is we want to talk about. And today, we are focusing on mental wellness for youth and adolescents. Yes, for the young people out there. So tag a friend and let them know that we are on Facebook, on YouTube, and on the Greater Works Network on Roku TV, and they need to be here. We are interactive on Facebook and on YouTube, and this is an interactive live, and we expect to hear from you. So, if you will, in the comments, let us know what city and state you are tuning in from. Enter your city and state in the comments, and we'll give you a shout out. I see you, Miss Shirley Wilson and Tally Ho. Thank you for being here. And happy hump day to you, Ozzy Oz in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Thank you for being here, my brother. I appreciate you. So today, here in Tallahassee, there was an MLK celebration down at the courthouse, and we got to hear from the attorney Benjamin Crump, who has made Tallahassee his home after attending Florida State University. He gave a very fiery speech about MLK and justice and equality and things that we need to just be on the lookout for in during these times in 2023. So I'm pretty fired up and ready to go because I know he sees a lot of things out and about in the world and reports on those things. And I think this topic tonight really speaks to a number of things that we are seeing in our world. So again, this is an engaging live, a safe space for us to express ourselves and communicate with one another. So I hope you all will join us in the conversations tonight. So I see a few more people I want to give a shout out to. Mr. Michael Love, good evening from Jacksonville. Thank you for being here. Mael Hill, I hope I'm saying that right, in Brentwood, New York. Thank you for being here. Miss Tracy Golay here in Tally Ho, and Cousin Raymond in Newport News, VA. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Well, as others are joining us, I am going to go ahead and read a little bit of my guest's bio. Miss Alexandria Haynes is a workshop development and informational assistance for Project Presence. She has a multifaceted approach to social work practice. She has a deep interest in written thesis on ending food insecurity, and she has fostered cultural awareness into core curriculum by successfully developing and executing a three-part series entitled the Hip Hop Storytelling Experience Workshop for Project Presence's 2016 SEL Summer Program. She holds a Master's of Social Work degree and is presently a residential treatment social worker working with adolescents with autism, and she is the owner of her own private practice, New Expressions Counseling and Community Services, which is based in Jacksonville, Florida. So help me welcome Miss Alexandria Haynes.
Hi.
Yay! Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So, tell the people who may not know you, who are you? Not what you do, because I just talked about a little bit of that. But who is Alexandria?
So, Alexandria is, first of all, a Black woman who is doing her best every day to either touch somebody's life or touch somebody's life, inspire somebody, especially the youth and the adolescents in our country. And someone who has a deep passion for just making sure that everyone's okay. So yeah,
Okay. All
and
right.
I'll be very honest with you. It is so challenging. This is a challenging question because people always ask, "What do you do?" You know,
Mm-hmm.
and not necessarily who you are as a person. So, but that is a challenging question to
Yeah.
answer for sure.
Good. Good. We want it to
Mhm.
be. Our theme for this year is Know Thyself. So I am challenging people to know who they are unapologetically and be you,
Mhm.
whatever, whoever
Absolutely.
that is. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So we got a few more folks on, and Michael is giving a congratulations to you.
Thank
Um,
you.
yes. All right. Shanovia is on. Thank you for being
Hello.
here. I have a new cousin that I just found out about, Tony Lynch, who is over in Colorado. So thank you for being on here, cousin Tony. I haven't even talked to him yet, but I found out we're related. And my mom is here from Miami. So thank you for being on, Mom. All right, so let us, before we dive into our topic, I do like to read my disclaimer since I have a clinician on here. I don't want people to mistake our conversation for counseling. They do need to get with a counselor or therapist. So, all topics, past, present, and future, on Conversations with Nicole are for informational purposes only. They are not to be used as a diagnosis for treatment or any answer to any personal issue related to the topic being discussed before, during, or after the program. All right, so there I said it. All right. So we also have Laura Wright King. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Laura.
Hey,
That's my homegirl from New York.
nice, nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice. And my sister Shayla is on down in Broward County, Florida. So before we jump into the topic, talk to us a little bit about your private practice, New Expressions, and the name, and maybe how you came into even being in this space of being a clinician.
Yeah. So, as always, I think that God is right on time for me because so I'm initially from New York,
Hmm.
and my intention when I moved down to Jacksonville was just, work in the schools as I currently do. And I really didn't have an interest at that time to become an owner of a private practice. So New Expressions was born in 2020 or came about in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic, the COVID pandemic. And of course, everything was being done virtually, all mental health counseling sessions. We were all working from home. And so from that point, actually, my mentor, shout out to her, Sarah Boston. She's watching live.
Right.
She actually inspired me to open my own private practice, and
Mhm.
that is actually how New Expressions was born. And from that point, I began providing counseling services for people through telehealth. So
Okay. Nice,
Yes,
nice,
yes.
nice, nice. Well, I am a mental health advocate, especially one of Black and Brown counselors and therapists. That's part of how these live shows came about in an effort to normalize the conversation around mental wealth and mental health and wellness, and to encourage us to get our checkup from the network neck up and get with clinicians of color, right? So Black and Brown
Mhm.
counselors and therapists. So I'm hoping that folks can connect, and some people have expressed that they have connected with some of the counselors that
Mhm.
have been on the show. So I thank you for joining us tonight, and definitely looking forward to this conversation. All right.
Yes.
So, mental wellness for youth and adolescents. Why do youth and adolescents need mental wellness?
Well, let's see. Um, as someone who um, grew up watching or witnessing one of their parents live with mental health issues, I think it's important to have mental wellness for youth because they need a space and an opportunity to express themselves without any judgment.
Hmm.
They need a space to communicate their thoughts and feelings
Mm-hmm.
because what you don't want is there to be a barrier for, or something that stands in the way of them doing that or being able to do that, um, because that spills over into other areas. It spills over into academics. It spills over
Mm-hmm.
into you know the social arena with their friends and their peers and family members. So it's definitely important, and it's definitely something that I'm always an advocate for.
Indeed. So I want to circle back a little bit by just giving a little bit of foundation as it relates to adolescence. I did a little bit of research prior to coming on, and when you explore what adolescence is, it's the
Mhm.
process of developing into an adult, right?
Yes. Mhm.
And it said that though that age range is from about 10 to 19.
Mhm.
So that's about a decade, roughly.
Yes.
And that there is rapid physical, cognitive, and psychosocial growth
Mhm.
during those years. So there's a lot going on during
Absolutely.
during that time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm. And so while I am in the third quarter of my life, I call it because I am 50 plus years old.
Mhm.
And during my coming up, I never heard of children uh, mental wellness being a concern of children.
Mhm.
Like children going to counseling and therapy was nothing that I had ever heard of,
Mhm.
right? And so I
Absolutely. Yeah.
think it's definitely a different day now, right?
It is.
I heard on the news this week about a 6-year-old who shot his teacher.
Mm.
A 6-year-old who shot his teacher. Anybody else hear about that story? In the comments, if you did, raise your hand, give me a thumbs up, a church finger, or something. Let me know. Anybody else hear about the 6-year-old in, I believe it was in Newport News, Virginia. It was in some part of Virginia. I
Mhm.
think it was Newport News though. 6-year-old shot his teacher.
Hmm.
Yes. All right. My cousin Rennie, who's a teacher, she's on here. She said yes. Okay. Mom, Tracy. Yeah. So a bunch of people heard about this. Now, what are we thinking? What's going on with when a 6-year-old has a gun and shoots the teacher?
it's a loss for words. It really, I feel like there's and I want to be careful with how I word it, but I feel like there is some sort of phenomenon, like as far as violence in the school, because just like you were saying before, the push or the advocacy for some a child to receive mental health treatment or services, in a different generation, it's the same thing. You really didn't hear about school shootings, violence against the teacher, in that capacity.
Mm-hmm. So Cousin Raymond, who's in Newport News, says this was about a mile away from his house.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
So I have like questions. And not that we're going to necessarily get to it tonight, but I'm really concerned about human development. I'm really concerned about the development of human beings and what type of human beings are we developing in 2023? That a 6-year-old has access to a gun and thinks that if he gets into an altercation with his teacher, shooting the teacher is the answer. Any thoughts on this, viewers? I really would like to hear from you all. What are your thoughts about that? I'm curious. I really want to hear from y'all. Let us know in the comments. What are your thoughts about that? That a 6-year-old would think that taking a gun to school and I would assume that it would be any altercation, not just the teacher, but if they got into any altercation, that shooting the person is the answer, is the best option, is the only option. I don't know. I would love to be in on that conversation to hear what he had to say about why he shot his teacher. All right, Cousin Tony says unresolved trauma. He's in a place with a protective mentality. Yeah, I think that is both of those absolutely be the case.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's quiet because a lot of people don't know what to say. I think we're just like at a loss, really at a loss. But this comment about him being in a place with a protective mentality, what's going on that he feels like he has to protect himself in this way? What is he being exposed to? What is he seeing? What is he hearing? All just, again, questions. Mayel, it all comes down to parental supervision, access, and education with firearms. Yes.
Shout out to Mayel.
Okay.
That's my friend from New York too.
All right. Hey, Mayel, New York is in the house.
Yes.
All right. Michael, of course, the gun wasn't secure. Tony, I work with men in grief. So abuse, molestation, abuse. I mean, those all could be a place, could place him in a place with a protective mentality. I get that. Yeah. Okay. So it's heavy. Sarah, it has become a fad and the response to not being heard. Also, parents need to be more involved and not believe that the school will raise the children.
Amen? Absolutely. Yes. I was actually talking to one of my other homegirls from New York, and she also remarked that. She also said that this the school needs to be just that, the school education, right? And then the parents also need to be just that, the parents, right? And the family unit needs to be supportive. But of course, there needs to be space and opportunity for that to happen. And sometimes it becomes a challenge where, how could I put it? It becomes a challenge where sometimes the parents don't always have the support to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some sort of intervening, I guess, if you will, from the school. And what I mean by that is, having the parent utilize, their authority to, support their child, in a healthy way, of course. And, checking in with them and letting them know, like, hey, if you are feeling unsafe, I guess, if you will, or even, providing parents with the tools and the tips to use in order to find out, what is causing that, their child to feel unsafe. So yeah, and lead to this type of incident, and prevent this type of incident from occurring. So
yeah, it's a lot. All right. Laura said she agrees with Sarah. Rennie says lack of conflict resolution skills, exposure to games where the child can learn how to operate a gun, lack of parental supervision, lack of respect for authority figures. Tracy, I'm at a loss. Imagine what his other interactions are like with family and friends. Right. I can't. Raymond, no one knows what to say. They don't know what to do with him. Virginia doesn't charge kids under 12. So what? Psychological evaluation?
More than likely that'll be.
So. Yeah. So Tony said he's young enough now where practitioners can start to get to the root cause and begin to provide the necessary treatment and tools.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well said, Tony. Yes.
All right. Comes down to foundation. Right.
Absolutely. That's my cousin.
Hey,
cousin.
All right. So, but what kind of foundation is he getting? Has he received thus far in these 6 years? And how can that foundation be deprogrammed and reprogrammed? Is that possible? Is there a holding the parents accountable? I mean, for a 6-year-old, because what did I say? Rapid physical, cognitive, and psychosocial growth. He isn't even in the look. He isn't even in the 10 to 19-year-old range yet.
Nope.
All right. So Cousin Raymond said that's what they are doing now. Evaluation. Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what they find. All right. So I don't want to harp on that a whole lot, but I think it does line right up with our topic of mental wellness for youth and adolescents. So what does that look like? What does mental wellness for youth and adolescents look like? Let me hear from you all, the viewers. What does that look like to you all? My friend Susan, who's also in VA, she's in Hampton. She said, just can't wrap my head around the whole situation where a 6-year-old has access to a gun. Yeah, we can't. Raymond says they say the mom will be charged. Yeah.
Nicole, I wanted to go back to a comment that was made a little bit earlier regarding some of the reasons, why this may have occurred. And then someone, I forgot their name, they made a comment relating to access to video games that teach them how to use a gun. I also wanted to point out too, I feel like the region in which you grow up in, that makes a difference as well. I know in New York, you know, and you didn't really, it's illegal to own a firearm, without a license, of course, but so how do you get access to a gun? And 9 times out of 10, I mean, here in Jacksonville, several people own firearms. Several people. Now, let me disclaimer. Okay. But then, of course, then that raises the question of, the responsibility of the parent or the owner of the firearm, and what they're doing to make sure that it's secure. But I just wanted to point that out, like with the comment that was made earlier.
Yes.
So I think the region in which we grow up in makes a difference as well. So
indeed, I mean, what is more widely accepted? Sometimes in the rural areas, maybe there's hunting that goes on, and so there is maybe a earlier acclimation to firearms because of hunting season or things of that nature. So I mean that definitely is something to consider. Tony said, well, yes, 98% of the young men begin to feel the need for self-preservation over a period of time at an early age, cultural surroundings. My cousin Denise said it starts at home. Kids look at too many video games with guns. And cousin Gerald said, I can only suspect it's the child's environment and what the parents expose the child to. All right. And Tony said, speaking from experience, I was that kid. Yeah. So, so what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? So, Alexandria, what does mental wellness for our youth and our adolescents look like?
Mental wellness for youth and adolescents. I think it boils down to balance, exposure, balance in the form of connection with other people outside of being connected online, or just having a connection or a safe space to be able to communicate, thoughts and feelings or needs without judgment. A lot of the times and I'll just speak from my experience working as a social worker in the school, a lot of the times I have experienced where sometimes educators there's a barrier in understanding cultural differences. And I've seen that across the board just in my experience in the schools. And I feel like when there is an understanding of cultural differences, I feel like that makes a difference. And understanding that people come from all different backgrounds and have all different types of lived experiences. And if a student isn't able, or a child or a teen isn't able to identify that and express that, then you're going to run into an issue where there's going to be pushback
Mm.
from that person. So,
Okay.
and again, I'm speaking strictly from experiences. So with the population that I've worked with, for
Yeah.
sure. So,
So I know you said connection with others outside of being online. You
mhm,
also said a safe space to communicate. But
mhm,
some of these young people, I believe, are finding people online that
mhm,
they feel safe to communicate with.
mhm,
And as a result, they're building relationship, they're building trust and loyalty.
mhm,
And these people have influence in their lives and can encourage them and ask them to do things that will put them in harm's way,
mhm. Yeah.
right? So I don't want to make it that online is just like this horrific place that children cannot be safe in,
Mhm.
but there needs to be some monitoring of what's taking place online, right?
Absolutely. Mhm. Yes.
Just like there should be monitoring on what's taking place in person.
Mhm.
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm,
Absolutely.
mhm. So that's the balance. That's the balance. That's the balance. And then I think on the cultural differences piece, um, yes, there needs to be, I think, a respect for different cultures and
Mhm.
customs.
Mhm.
Um, but I also believe that in some cases we have created cultures that are against us. And I'll give you an example.
Mhm.
I have, I was talking with a coach here in Tallahassee, basketball coach,
Mhm.
and he coaches boys high school basketball. And he says, and he's an old school coach, says he has a no smoking rule,
Mhm.
meaning that his players cannot smoke weed, okay, marijuana. So the player, he's telling this to one of his players, and the player says, "Coach, I'll promise you, I won't smoke game day, but we smoke at my house, so I can't promise you outside of that I'm not gonna smoke because that's what we do."
Mhm.
Meaning the mama, the daddy, the granddaddy, whoever lives with him, they smoke. That's their culture. What you do with that?
Listen, I again, and I'll relate back to um, some of the incredible, youth and adolescents that I've had the opportunity to connect with. You're right, as far as sometimes creating a culture, right? So as you were saying, like in terms of um, the students that are on the basketball team, right? And they, the coach has a no smoking rule, right? But yet these kids are surrounded by their family members that do engage in smoking. Yeah. So it's like, all right, well, I see my family do it. Why can't I, But again, like that goes back to my initial point, which is that balance in terms of I've asked students in the past, like, you got to ask yourself, like, what is it about engaging in marijuana? What is it about that? What does it do for you?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
how does it add to your life?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And not just marijuana, anything, any kind of substance. We some of the students who um, have infractions for using, what is it, the vape, right? They're required to engage in a tobacco prevention course, and after they complete that course, they're required to meet with me, right? So there's times where I ask them, like, what is it, what does it do for you? What does vaping do for you? What are the benefits? What are the the cons of engaging in it, right? So yeah.
So perhaps there should be more of those types of conversations.
Right.
We do have a few comments, but before I get to those, I want to just do my little station ID, which is to let those of you who may be just joining us know I'm on with Alexandria Haynes, and we are talking about mental wellness for youth and adolescents on this Wellness Wednesday evening. So Tony says, surround them with men with similar experiences, put them around people that look like him, and hold space,
Absolutely.
listen.
Absolutely.
So my sister is a teacher, and she says that students' comments sounds like quite a few of my students, especially when I try to teach them about respect and cursing. They'll say, my mom allows me to curse or whatnot, so why can't I do it?
Mhm.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think we've all run across that or experienced that at one point or another, Shayla.
Yeah, I don't
I've
know. I mean, I guess now it's a new day thing, but no,
Mhm.
children were not cursing around their parents. That
No.
was not, no, you didn't
Mhm.
do that.
Mhm.
You may have cursed, but it was not around your parents. And if you did, were looking around saying, "Excuse me, forgive me, my
Mhm.
bad, I'm sorry," or something.
Mhm.
But that's just disrespectful. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, it just is.
Mhm.
I know I'm old fashioned, but anyway. All right.
No, no, not necessarily. No. Yeah, that definitely wasn't going down in my house. And if it
Mm-mm.
was, oh yeah, I don't think I'd be here right now. So,
I tell you.
so
All right. So Tony said drug use in most cases is an escape from their reality, a false sense of security.
mhm.
Mhm. All right, so let's get back to this list. So we said balance, that is part of mental wellness for youth and adolescents. Um, I think acknowledgement and maybe respect for cultural differences.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else?
I say I also would I would also say that gaining access to space that can address trauma,
Mm.
any traumatic experience,
Mm-hmm.
because like Tony mentioned, when he was mentioning about drug use in most cases being an escape, right?
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, when people do engage in drugs or alcohol, and um, have an addiction,
Mm-hmm.
there's some unresolved trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if provide a space that um, a student could receive, or I guess in this case a youth or adolescent can receive the supports, right, to address the trauma history, um, that could reduce the risk, that could reduce the risk of um, issues in the future. So
Okay. So access to treatment of trauma.
mhm.
Okay. All right. We got a few more comments. So Shayla said, well, I must be old fashioned too, because I'm looking at them like, hey.
Mm.
Cousin Raymond, I'm 63, never once cursed around my parents. Cousin Berna, thank you for being here. She's also in Miami. She said, your mom's rules apply when you're with her, but my rules apply when you're with me. It's an uphill battle that I fight all day long. So Cousin Berna is also in the classroom as well. So a lot of educators on the line tonight.
I want to add to that, Bernadette. Thank you so much for that comment, because I have certainly experienced that as well. Nicole, can I talk a little bit about where I work now currently?
Sure
Right?
can.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I work in a dropout prevention high school. And of course, what that means is students grades 9 through 12, they are at risk of not obtaining their high school diploma, have an opportunity to obtain their high school diploma, and do so at their own pace. So we have about 3 or 4 different teachers, and I can honestly say the importance of having the engagement of the parent in their student's life to get them across the finish line makes all the difference. And sometimes it's unfortunate. Some of the students that I work with, they don't necessarily have the engagement or their parents, the level of engagement from their parents that would be important, that is important. So I would also say that increasing that engagement, it makes the difference. It definitely makes a difference. Yeah. Because if your kid thinks, or if a kid thinks it's okay, like, hey, I can come into school and cuss, and then, the teacher is trying to address that, and, including the parent in that process, I think would make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Laura said, some parents of today I've noticed are trying to be more of a friend than a parent. You must be a parent first and foremost.
Yeah.
Tony said, generational guilt. My generation tried so hard to do right for the things we did. The intention was good, but we began to raise our kids as friends. Same thing. And many of my students feel as though they are grown enough, and as an adult, you shouldn't correct them.
All the time.
But it's a constant to work with them on respect. Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. Whew. Okay. Many parents are trying to be a friend and not an authority figure. Any child in my presence is considered my child and will be reprimanded accordingly. Yeah, I think that that is part of it as well. The whole take a village to raise a child kind of vibe, feeling, mentality is not so much anymore. I think with the onset of children having this kind of authority to call the authorities on their parents, that has, hindered folks or parents and others, I think, from getting involved. And as Shayla's saying, the students feel as though they are grown enough, whatever that means, and they shouldn't be corrected. That's a problem. That is a problem. All right. Let's see. We got Donda on here. She said, how do you address that issue when the teacher acts like the students, i.e., the things they say to the student, as well as the inappropriateness on social media?
Donda, wow. Great question. Great question, because I've also experienced that as well. I I honestly feel that school, growing up, school was the place to go, for me at least, just personal experience. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like if I didn't go to school or if I missed school, it was a loss for me. Like if I was sick or whatnot, like I wanted to be in school. So yes, I do think that, yeah, while it's okay to be a friend to the student, but you also have to put those boundaries in place. And my point is sometimes those lines, they become blurred, and the boundaries aren't fully enforced, in terms of, you know um, making sure that the student knows, like, hey, there's certain things that you can't say, um, certain things you can't do, because obviously when you try to correct the child while trying to be their friend, it's not always successful. It's not always
Mhm.
successful, and I've seen it too many times, too many times, too many times.
Yes.
Mhm.
Sarah says, sadly, social media has become a platform for nonsense and fake empowerment. Mm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mm.
Fake
Well said.
empowerment.
Fake
Hmm.
empowerment. Well said. Well said. All right. So, just to recap kind of quickly, we talked about balance, which is connecting, but with others. But the balance is it needs to be a safe space, but a healthy safe space,
Hmm.
not where people trying to get the children to do things that are really going to ultimately harm them.
Hmm.
Acknowledgement and respect of cultural differences, access to trauma care, and increased parent engagement.
Hmm.
Mhm, 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 mhm. All right. Anything else we want to highlight as it relates to mental wellness for youth and adolescents? Well, you think that pretty much covers it?
I think so.
Okay. All
I
right.
think
That's
so.
fine. That's fine. That's fine. Well, I'm going to give you an opportunity to give us some final words, but after that, then tell us how folks can connect with you. But any final words as it relates to our topic around mental wellness for youth and adolescents?
Yes. So I really enjoyed this conversation.
Mm-hmm. I
Um,
did too.
it, it's a it's a conversation that needs to be ongoing. Um, and I encourage everyone here to, whether you're in the field of education or not, or um, being somebody who is helpful in a young person's life, I encourage you to keep learning different ways to implement, um, different ways to connect with the youth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Hmm.
there are a lot of people who touch the lives of youth,
Hmm.
um, not only parents and teachers, but coaches and mentors
Hmm.
and you know, youth ministers and things of that nature. And so,
Hmm.
um, don't give up on them.
Don't.
Like you said, keep learning, keep growing, and um, while you may want to, it may be tempting to want to be a friend.
Hmm.
Um, stand your ground on being that adult because they are developing into adults.
Hmm.
Okay, they don't know what it means to adult.
Hmm.
They're learning, so we have got to show them a more excellent way. Got to show
Yeah.
them a more excellent way. So I thank you for your time and your expertise tonight. We did get a few comments from folks. Gerald said this was a great show and a topic that needed to be covered. Thank you so much. Tony, thank you for holding this space, respect and love. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Because Denise said, watch and listen to the kids. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
watch and listen to the kids, please. Open the communication regarding mental health. Listen more than
Mm-hmm.
talk and accept and ask for understanding so that you can see a better version of being an adult. Yes,
Absolutely. Yep.
absolutely. Absolutely. Agreed, Sarah. Thank you for that. All right. So, how can folks connect with you?
Okay, so everyone, I do have a website. You can connect with me there. It's newexpressionsccd.com. You'll learn more about the services that I offer, individual counseling as well as group counseling. And then also, I can be found on Psychology Today by typing in my name, Alexandria Haynes,
Mhm.
and I am located in Jacksonville. And my contact information is on there as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Are you accepting any new patients now, new clients?
Yes, I am.
All
Hmm. And
right.
I do accept insurance.
Okay.
Yes, but just contact me for more information regarding
Okay.
that. So yeah.
All right. So, for those of you who are in Florida, she can serve you. She is accepting new clients, so you
Hmm.
definitely want to reach out, connect, and she says she does accept insurance as well, so that's a good thing. All
Hmm.
right, so a couple more comments. Shayla said, "Wonderful discussion, good topic, thank you." Laura, this topic, love this topic. This conversation needs to continue. Absolutely, absolutely. So, Donda, thank you for being here, Donda. She said, "Do you do telehealth visits?"
Yes, we do.
Okay,
Absolutely.
very
Hmm.
good,
Hmm.
very good, very good. All right.
And we work with
So,
all ages. So.
mhm,
Hmm.
okay. And you know, adolescents, youth, and adolescents are like your jam too. So,
Hmm.
mhm. Cool. All right. Thank you, Susan, for being here. All right. So, for those of you who are new to the Conversations with Nicole platform, I got to invite you to uh, follow and subscribe. Subscribe to the Conversations with Nicole YouTube channel. We're here Mondays and Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time talking about mental health and wellness and trying to connect clinicians of color with patients of color, if you will. So follow us on Instagram and let's keep this conversation going. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going because we really, really need to take care of our young people.
Absolutely. Hmm.
All right, very good. Well, I know the long weekend is coming up, so I encourage you all to be safe out there. We got MLK Monday coming up, and ooh, let's see, yeah. So we will have a live on Monday. I actually have a panel of coaches that will be on Black coaches talking about sports psychology.
Hmm.
So, I know with the, oh, what is the name of the football player that got hit? I can't think of it right now. DeMar. Uh, I'm sure that'll be a topic that we cover in that show. But at any rate, join us next week. We have great programming lined up, and we hope you have a safe weekend.
Yes,
Tony said we can go
please.
deep into this. Yes, we can. Damar Hamlin. Thank you, Shayla. Uh, and thank you, Cousin Raymond. All right. We will check y'all next time. Have a good night.
Bye. Have a good night.
Bye.